Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello and welcome to Total Retail Talks. This is Joe Keenan, Executive Editor of Total Retail. In episode 195, I interview Chris Fitzpatrick, who is the Vice President of Business Analytics and Strategy at Vineyard Vines. Chris and I discuss how Vineyard Vines' use of an analytics solution has enabled the apparel brand to obtain a single view of its customers across multiple channels, helping to drive more effective marketing communications. This episode was recorded live at the Shop Talk conference in Las Vegas. And now, on to the show. Thanks for joining me, Chris.
Thank you.
I think a good place to start would be to, I'm sure most are familiar with Vineyard Vines at this point, but for those in the audience that aren't, maybe can you tell us a little bit about the brand?
Sure. Vineyard Vines, it was started about 20 years ago by two brothers, Shep and Ian. It's predominantly an apparel brand based out of Stamford, Connecticut. And it started with the idea of bringing the good life to work and to wherever you go. The two brothers began the brand making neckties, and the prints on the ties were kind of fun, jovial types of things. Yep. And the thought was, you bring something fun to work when you're not really having as much fun. And it's this mantra of every day should feel this good is kind of what we kind of think about when we go to market with any product.
Okay. And speaking of going to market, distribution channels, e-commerce site, retail stores?
Yep, e-com, wholesale. We work through a number of different wholesalers, department stores, as well as green grass accounts, so the golf industry we work in quite a bit.
Okay.
And then we also have a custom business where we work with corporate clients, making a custom product for them as well.
Oh, interesting. So obviously with those, you're selling to customers in multiple channels, marketing to them, I'm assuming in multiple channels as well. Can you talk about kind of the challenges then, and this is a major theme you hear at events like this, and kind of obtaining that single view of the customer and finding, the customer that researched a product online before coming into one of your stores or bought it wholesale. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about what your work with CCG Analytics here as well in terms of obtaining that single view?
Yeah, so we started working with CCG about 18 months ago, and the premise of it was we were really challenged to really see how the customer was interacting across all those channels. The data was in multiple different places. It was very onerous to get at that information, and we started to we knew that we needed to continue to grow the brand and to provide a really high level of customer service, be able to see how they are interacting with the brand. So that was the premise of why we started to work with them. It presents a lot of challenges, right? Our brand in particular, we really push the idea of hospitality and customer service. That's really important to us. And not being able to see the things that we were doing for the customer, if they appreciated it or not, or if they were having an impact or not, we're really limiting our ability to scale the business a little in some ways.
And create that kind of loyalty too to get them back in.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the customer is now. They have the ability to go to so many different brands, and it's so easy to find them now via social and various other platforms for marketing. So you have to be really, really good from a customer-facing perspective, providing them with the best service, or they'll move on very quickly.
Yeah. So let's kind of rewind 18 months before you've partnered with CCG Analytics. And talk about, you mentioned kind of the fragmented, disparate data sets, all different systems. Looking back, what were kind of the negative impacts on the business as you look back at that time, and kind of pushed you to find a partner you could work with?
It was really limiting the questions we would ask about the business, because it would be really challenging to find the data to support the answer to that question, or really to explore the information. So our senior executive team, was limited in the things that they would go after, could understand, and we were also really driving the business off of financial metrics predominantly, because you couldn't really see acquisition, retention, how the customer was behaving, their cross-buying behavior across different channels. So those types of things were really challenging the business and our senior leadership to drive the business forward.
So you've implemented the customer insights for retail solution. Interested what, obviously there's many potential partners out there. What was attractive about that particular solution for Vineyard Vines that you ultimately ended up working with CCG Analytics?
There's a couple of different things that we appreciated about the tool. One, it was simplistic for the end user. So from a self-service perspective, a lot of our tools were previously rather complicated to use and not very visually orientated. So in the apparel and footwear space, a lot of the people you're working with are creatives, right? And they resonate to things that are that you can see and feel, as opposed to real strong data. So if you can present the data back to them in a way they can consume it, in which this tool does very well, it enables them to make better business decisions. So that was one. Two, the actual model behind it is also very powerful. So for those more sophisticated users, they could go into the background of the model and actually build really more data science-y types of work. And then thirdly, the actual environment and the tool was allowing us to engage with our partners better and share with them what we were seeing in the business, which we weren't able to do very well before either.
Okay. When you mention partners, what do you mean by that?
So some of our digital agency,
okay,
for one, types of people like that.
Okay. And let's talk about the timeline and kind of getting your end user up to speed and the implementation process. What was that like?
Within 6 months, we had the model built, and we were starting to roll out portions of the tool to within our CRM and marketing team. And then within a year, about 9 months is really when we started to put in really actionable things. We started to see an ROI on the product, and that went up very, very quickly. And I mean, on a full year basis, I think our return was about 150% on the initial investment. So a really quick turn on our capital. And for a smaller size company like ourselves, being able to return that capital very quickly is super important.
Yeah. So systems up and running, you're seeing the benefits you want. Let's talk about maybe an example or two of how you're using it to make better, customer-centric decisions. You have this, a clearer view of the customer. What's a way that you're using the information to better market to them?
I mean, one way in which we dug into is our retail footprint. We have 100 plus stores in the market, and right now everybody's challenged to kind of rationalize those footprints, right? Traffic is coming down. If you're looking at just the four wall of a door, it may appear that door is not as successful as it may be. With the tool, we started to really kind of look at those connection points, so this cross-buying behavior of the customer, and really start to understand the value of that store is not just purely what they're selling in store, but the knock-on effect it has on a given marketplace. And that allowed our marketing team to really think about the customer in a market as opposed to just purely we're trying to drive traffic in store. We're trying to drive channel-specific marketing tactics, and we're really looking at it as marketplaces now.
Are you seeing higher penetration, I would imagine, of online business from the markets where you have physical stores as well? Is that kind of you were able to tie that?
Yeah, and I think that's the trend industry-wide, too.
Yeah. Yep. So you mentioned a couple, but if we're going to kind of list off some of the business benefits that Vineyard Vines has realized as a result of working with the CI for Retail solution, what would those top ones be for you?
I'd say the cross-buying behavior, for one. Our consumer, we were looking at them very like they buy this product category, but we weren't actually able to see how they interact with other product categories or how they shopped cross-regionally. So that was another area where we would see our customers, our brand's unique in a sense that there's a reason to go into our stores in different markets because we have unique products in each one of those. Yeah. And being able to understand, like, if you're from Ohio, you actually shop on the east coast of Florida too when you vacation. And seeing where those customers were buying back and forth was really, really a valuable add for our team to understand.
Yeah, it can then kind of personalize experiences, and that's through I guess email and some of the different other
email,
ways.
Social, even catalog to some degree, whether or not we send a catalog to someone or whether or not we don't. Which is a really helpful, because it's such a high cost of sending catalogs, knowing whether or not the catalog resonates with someone is important.
Interesting. And then my final question, Chris, is just kind of looking forward a little bit. How are you planning to leverage the CI for Retail solution, maybe in some ways, new ways that you currently aren't taking advantage of?
Yeah, so we started in the marketing realm, in the CRM realm, but what we're finding is, and where we're moving to, is really pushing that out further into our teams and into the merchandising, planning, allocation teams, because them being able to see in real time and in a very simplistic way what's working, what's not, can allow them to react really, really quickly and move products and then also into the design process because it's so far out. They're looking at the business really quick and they're planning for a year ahead. So being able to have our design teams understand what's performing early really helps. And that's where we're going.
Looking ahead to what the potential buying behavior. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's the really where we think there's a huge unlock is really in the inventory utilization type stuff.
Great. Well, I'll take this opportunity to thank Chris Fitzpatrick of Vineyard Vines for joining me today at Shop Talk. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcasts. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and now on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.